Today we're going to be talking about how you progress in trading at every single stage. Whether you're a break-even trader, how do you progress into being a winning trader? Whether you're a losing trader, how do you progress into being a break-even trader? So just whatever stage of your journey you're at, exactly what you should be doing, because they're very different. You should be doing very different things when you're losing versus when you're break-even or when you're a winning trader. Now, the reason that I'm even qualified to talk to this is because first and foremost, I've been in all of these stages myself. I've been a very losing trader. I've been pretty chronically break even in the past, and nowadays I have been a winning trader. And on top of all of that, at this point, I've literally helped hundreds of traders through these stages as well. And I've seen the different pitfalls, the different struggles that they each go through, and I have a very good idea of what each individual person should be doing in the exact stage of trading that they are in. So without further ado, make sure you join the Discord in the description, and let's get right into this video. So first and foremost, I think that you need to understand that the default state of a trader should be break even. In order to do anything consistent in the market, in order to be a consistent loser or a consistent winner, you are imposing some sort of consistency into the market, okay? And people kind of don't like when I say this, but being a consistent losing trader is the exact same difficulty as being a consistent winning trader. That might not make too much sense because there's a lot of consistent losing traders, but I think this is very important to first understand. If you take somebody with no emotions, if you take somebody who is not a human, and they take the same trade every single time at the same time of day with the same stop loss and the same take profit over a infinite amount of time, they will be a break-even trader. For sure. Now, because there's no real edge in doing that, if you start to change the system at all, they're going to go into being a losing trader. And if they optimize that, if there is edge in that and they were able to optimize, then they could become a winning trader. But being a consistently losing trader is the same thing as being a consistently winning trader. You are just doing something different consistent, but you are being consistent here. This is impressive. Being a losing trader like this is impressive. You have managed to do something consistent in a otherwise quote-unquote random market. So what that means for what you should be doing in each particular stage of trading is if you're a losing trader, well, then you need to be fixing something. In this case, you might either need to be fixing yourself, right? Your psychology, for example. We'll run down very specifics in a minute, but you would need to be fixing something in the losing stage. Either yourself, maybe making sure that you actually have an edge, fixing your discipline, fixing something. Now, when you're break even, you no longer need to fix anything, actually. You just need to optimize what you already have. Because at the point of break even, your foundations are solid, right? You're exactly where you should be as a beginner trader. You should be break even. You shouldn't be losing. Because remember, losing is doing something consistent. Break even is the true neutral state of the market. So once you're break even, you need to be optimizing something. This might be optimizing yourself, optimizing your real world process, or optimizing your edge, collecting data, for example, and things of that nature. And then when you're a winning trader, I'm a pretty firm believer that you need to be doing nothing, okay? You need to kind of cut out the optimizations anymore. You have to kind of slow down with the learning, and you need to just maintain and adapt over a long period of time. But what exactly does this look like? What does fixing mean when you're a losing trader? Let's get into it. So the first question that you need to ask when you're a losing trader is, am I losing because of the charts? Am I losing because of my edge? Is it my system? Or am I losing because of me? Am I the reason that I'm a losing trader? Or is the charts the reason that I'm a losing trader? And sometimes, by the way, the answer could be both, right? You might have no edge and you're just making bad choices and you're not disciplined. But you need to answer this question first, because a lot of losing traders might have a lot of edge, right? Their system might work, their strategy might work. They themselves are the problem. On the other hand, there's a lot of traders where they themselves are totally fine. They're able to be disciplined. They're able to do whatever they have to do. They're able to apply proper risk management. They're able to execute their system properly. But the actual system, the thing they do on their charts, is completely wrong, right? It has no edge. It's not going to lead to a winning result. So the first question that you need to ask, if you're in the losing category, if you're a consistently losing trader, is why am I consistently losing? Is it me or is it the charts? And how exactly do you determine that? Well, you determine that with data. So this is the boring part of trading that nobody wants to hear. And I'm telling you right now, if you don't hear this part of trading and you decide not to follow through with doing what I'm about to say, you might as well quit right now. And you would probably be better off taking all the money that you're going to use to go buy challenge accounts or fun personal accounts and throw them on Sweet Bonanza on a gambling website. So what do I mean by data? So data can include back testing, but ideally forward testing. So unfortunately, this is going to be the hard part here. So when I say data, I'm specifically meaning data about your system or your strategy. Because if it turns out that your system or your strategy is winning, if it does have edge, then the problem is you. If it doesn't have edge, then the problem is your system. So how do we start to determine if our strategy has any sort of real edge in the market? And for those of you who are not aware, when I say the word edge, this basically refers to your system being profitable over time. So if I could give it an analogy here, it would be like if you have a normal coin, let's say you have a penny, and you just flip that coin, it's totally 50-50, right? It's not going to, like, over a huge amount of time, that coin flip is going to do just as many heads as it does tails. But if you put even the tiniest amount of weight on one side of that coin, and now you start to flip it, it might flip heads a little bit more than it flips tails over a huge amount of time, or it might flip tails a little bit more than it flips heads over a huge amount of time. And that little difference in determining if one thing is going to happen a little bit more often than not, that is what edge is. In trading, it presents itself a little bit differently because you could lose a lot more than you win and still have edge because of something called risk to reward, which you should already know about. But if you don't, you can watch my risk management video on this YouTube channel. All right, so before we start to think about even testing our edge, we need to make sure it's well defined. And I think a lot of traders fail here immediately, right? You need to know exactly what you're looking for. Your edge needs to be well defined. Write it down. So for me, it might be I need a high time frame level. I need a liquidity sweep. I need some form of internal confirmation. I need a directional bias as well. And it needs to be done during the right time of day. And this is an edge in a specific play that you could put in a playbook, for example, that I'm looking for. This is a well-defined setup. You see, a lot of traders, what they end up doing is they end up just kind of taking anything, right? They might have a very vague idea of what they're looking for, but then they kind of just take anything. They don't have a very extremely well-defined idea of what they're looking for. And this is exceptionally important for testing your edge and even being able to trust your edge. Because if you can't very well define exactly what you're looking for in the market, then how can you know if that's something that is repeatable over a long period of time? So I would tell to somebody to create something that people call a playbook. Now, in the beginning, this playbook, you should literally write it down, okay? Nowadays, I've been doing this for a very long time. I don't need to write down the plays in my playbook. I know what I'm looking for. What a playbook is a some sort of paper or some sort of like notes or anything really about each individual setup that you want to be taking in the market. What do you believe has edge? The setup that you want to take that you believe provides edge, and exactly the parameters of what needs to happen for you to enter. And then also exactly where your stop loss goes, exactly how you're going to manage risk in the position. Are you going to use a take profit? Are you going to trail? Exactly everything. Like this playbook, this very well-defined version of your setup needs to be extremely well-defined. I take trades when it comes to this type of level, when I see this kind of internal confirmation, when I have this kind of bias for this reason, and this is how I manage that position. I'm going to get out if it lasts this amount of time, for example. Like, you should have very highly well-defined setups, and only then can you start to test. Now, you will start to notice as well, sometimes there is discretion in trading. And I think if you're a losing trader, it's highly important to start eliminating discretion at all costs, because your discretion is bad, okay? You need to get to as close of a mechanical setup as you can. It doesn't have to be fully mechanical. Even me, to this day, most of my setups are mostly mechanical, but there's discretion that I insert in, to be honest, all the time. But if you're a very losing trader, in order to test your setup, I think it's very important to make it as well defined as possible. I'm spending a lot of time on this point because it's extremely important. If you don't do this, hang up the fucking coat, go to a casino, gamble. You have better odds winning at a casino than you do in the market. So make sure that you write down a list of your setups, all the parameters for you to enter in a very well-defined way, and then you get to test them. So let's talk about back testing now and the pros and cons of back testing. So back testing is basically going to prior price action that has happened in the past. Let's say that you trade stock index futures. Let's say that you trade NASDAQ futures. You would basically go, well, let me cut off price action. Well, let me go 3 years ago in price action. And from 3 years ago to the current day, I'm going to make note and collect data on every single time my well-defined setup shows up. I'm going to take very detailed notes about my win rate, about my expectancy, about my average risk reward, about if I should have trailed or if I should have not trailed, about everything. And I'm going to see if it's a profitable setup over a long period of time. Now, it's important when you're testing to do it over a long period of time. And the reason being is because sometimes the market conditions are favorable and sometimes the market conditions are not favorable. So if you only backtest over, let's say, a month, and then you're like, wow, this setup is very profitable over the last month, you're not getting accurate data because you might have just been looking at a month that was very trendy in one direction, that was very choppy or whatever, and your system might work better in one market condition than it does in another. So as a general rule of thumb, if you're going to backtest for at least 6 months of data. That will give you good access to a lot of different market conditions. And if you're trading, for example, on a 4-hour chart or a daily chart, backtest for even further, 5, 10 years of data instead of the 6 months if you were executing on like a 1-minute chart, for example. So the pros of backtesting is, first and foremost, it's a little bit quicker, right? You don't have to sit and you don't have to wait for 4 months for your setup to show up 100 times. It's much quicker than forward testing. But the cons of backtesting is it does not in any way emulate what real trading is actually like. Right, there is a big difference between watching the candle develop real time versus just hitting a next button and seeing a candle appear immediately. There's a big difference in the time that you're waiting. There's a big difference in your emotions. Are you actually emotionally equipped to execute this trade? So backtesting has advantages in time. It could gain your confidence, but there's some downsides to backtesting that makes it not very similar to real life trading. Another thing about backtesting that's potentially negative is that the market changes a little bit, right? So you might go and backtest 6 months of data, and it might be heavily skewed towards working in the first 3.5 months, and then in the final 2.5 months, it doesn't really work too well. But because you're looking at the entire backtest, it seems that overall it's profitable, and then you start trading it and it's actually not profitable. The edge has decayed. The edge has become useless, irrelevant over time. So those are the pros and cons of backtesting, and what I believe is better, albeit taking a lot more time, is forward testing. So we'll talk about that now. So forward testing to me is in the realm of paper trading. Basically what forward testing is, as the name implied, literally doing it real time. So you would sit and you would basically paper trade your well-defined setup for 6 months. Okay, I know nobody wants to hear that. People want to learn how to make money quick. I can't teach you how to make money quick. If you're serious about this career, it's going to take a while, man. It's not going to be an immediate thing. It might take you years to get profitable. That's all right, okay? People go to college for 4 years, and people that get out of college don't make tens of millions of dollars a year from day trading, right? So forward testing is paper trading. I think people don't really understand this that well, but forward testing is paper trading. Paper trade your well-defined setup for a period of 6 months and do it real time. The reason I believe forward testing is better, albeit taking much more time, is that if you're forward testing, you also get to test yourself. Do I have the discipline to actually only execute my well-defined edge? Do I have the patience to wait for my edge to show up and I'm not going to take random trades in between? Am I able to execute what I have well-defined? And that is very important. You're basically testing yourself to see if you are a good trader as well as if your edge works at the same time. So in general, I would say if you're a completely new trader, do forward testing. Okay? If you have been profitable and you're just trying to implement a new strategy, or you want to start using a new setup, then you could backtest. Because if you already know you're profitable, if you already know you have discipline, there's no need to go through the whole forward testing and paper trading phase again. You could just backtest, make sure the system works, and you are already going to be confident in yourself that you could execute. But if you're a new trader, unfortunately, I'm going to recommend that you go through the 6 months of paper trading and testing your well-defined system. Now, once you reach this part, this doesn't particularly mean you're done, and it doesn't mean you're going to be profitable yet. However, hopefully, during that entire time of testing, you were collecting data. So what do I specifically mean when I say data? I mean, in particular, things like this is my win rate, this is the system's win rate, for example. Would have I been better off if I used a trailed stop loss on every trade versus a take profit? Would have I been better off if I went break even versus not break even? Like, track everything. What was the max unrealized gain that I was in every single position to kind of even aid it more to see if you should be trailing? What would happen if I went break even when price went halfway to my target? What would happen if I use this amount of internal confirmation or this amount of confirmation versus potentially less confirmation? All of these like data points are things that you should be tracking in your testing. And the reason for this is that you are trying to develop an edge. When you're a losing trader, you need to develop an edge. And developing an edge is a grueling process of testing, collecting data, reiterating on the edge, testing again, collecting data, reiterating on the edge, and doing this over and over and over and over again. And eventually you'll get to a point where after testing your edge, your well-defined edge that you have, and collecting data, you'll start to notice that the data is positive. It's no longer a losing trading system. And now you're in a place as a trader that is a very great place to be in. You're at a spot where you have a very well-defined setup, you have a very well-defined edge, and you have a lot of confidence that it works because you just thoroughly tested it and you have all the data to back that testing up. Now you can move on to the next section. And by the way, at this point, if you go trade, you might be a winning trader, okay? If you go through all of this, you might just jump from being losing straight to being winning, and you might never have a break-even section, okay? You might just go straight from this to winning. But if you collect all that data and everything, and it turns out that you are break-even, and maybe you're a break-even trader as you watch this video, well, what happens? We'll talk about that in the next section. However, what if the problem is not the charts, and in fact, the problem is yourself? So you've gone through it all. You've tested your system. You have a well-defined edge. You've collected the data on paper. You should be making money, but you're just not. You're just losing trades constantly. This means that you have a problem with yourself. This means you have a mental issue, okay? Don't immediately jump to think you have a mental issue if you do not know you have a well-defined, properly tested edge, okay? I think a lot of traders do that, where they don't actually have an edge, and they'll just sit there blaming it on themselves. But you don't actually even have an edge. So even if you were perfect, you would not be profitable. If you have a well-tested, well-defined edge, and you've collected data on it, then it is a mental problem. And if it is a mental problem, it all comes down to discipline and patience. You're not disciplined enough. You're not disciplined enough to follow the tested edge that you've created. You're not disciplined enough to do the right risk management, and you're not patient enough to wait for the setup. You're taking things outside of it. You're quick to do things. And to be honest, you probably have a fucking gambling problem. Okay? A lot of traders don't want to hear this, but it's so true. The difference between trading and gambling is the difference between playing slots and playing poker at a casino. In poker, the player can have a little bit of an edge if they know what they're doing. In slots, you can't have an edge at all. And if you can't be fucking disciplined, if you just can't listen to your own self and you just let your emotions control you, you have no edge. You are literally playing poker, or you're literally playing the slot machine. You don't want to play the slot machine, motherfucker. You want to play poker. Okay, so you have a mental issue. How do we get over mental problems? If you can diagnose yourself with a serious gambling issue, talk to somebody. Go to therapy. I'm not even joking. It sounds like a fucking joke. I'm not joking. Go talk to somebody to help you with your gambling problem. If gambling is not your issue, but occasionally you do things like FOMO, or you're not too good at patience or whatever, there's a lot of free resources on the internet. I would start to look at people like Randy Howell on YouTube. He has a huge amount of very good trading psychology advice. Somebody named Mark Douglas of the past had a lot of good psychology advice. Somebody named Tom Hugard makes very good books. Dr. David Paul talks in the past. He has a lot of very good talks where he talks about trading psychology as well. Then you have people that make books. For example, the Market Wizards books are good. They're not going to help too much with psychology. You have books like Trading in the Zone. You have books like... to be honest, stuff like that. But to be honest, at the end of the day, like, no single book that you're going to read is going to immediately change you. You can't just read a book and expect your brain to be healed, okay? You need to make being a disciplined trader part of your identity. I'm not just a trader. I'm a trader that does not break my fucking rules, right? You have to make it a part of you, a part of your identity. Not breaking your rules, making sure that you're patient, that is you. You're becoming that. You have to be that. And if you're not, you're just going to fail, because without a proper user, because no matter how good of a system that you have, if you're not properly using that system, it's not going to work, okay? If you took, what's an extremely profitable company? If you took NVIDIA, for example, and you replace the CEO of NVIDIA with some random dude off the street, he's going to crash the company. Even though they have a very good business, even though they already have something that should be extremely profitable, if the person who's leading the ship, in this case in your trading, it's you taking the trades, actually utilizing the system, if they are not doing it right, if they can't be disciplined, if they can't run it well, everything is still going to fail, okay? So if you're the issue, stop worrying about your edge immediately. This is the last thing you do. You want to fix yourself before you fix your edge. And then once they're both fixed, you will immediately either be break even or winning. If you have both of these in check, it is impossible to be a losing trader. But to be honest, this mental part of trading right now, this is why trading has that statistic of 90% of people that fail. This is why. It's not the edge. Anybody could just put in the legwork to test an edge and make sure they have the right system, right? You could even just have somebody teach you a system that works, for example. People in my Discord, I have a day trading system that works for sure. I teach it all the time, right? I know that edge works. You could be handed something that works, and because you yourself can't use it well, because you have mental issues, that is the most important part. But again, don't immediately put it on mental issues. First, you need to make sure the edge works, and then if the edge is actually working, you're the reason you're failing, and you need to lock in on yourself. Fix the gambling problems. Literally go talk to somebody for it. You need to read books, internalize, become the person, create an identity of who you want to be. You are a day trader that does not fucking mess up his rules. I have not broken a risk management rule in my day trading since April Asia session 2023 with a guy named Marcus in a call. He didn't break his rules. I did. I traded one trade over my loss limit, and I was fucking pissed off for weeks. Why? Because that goes against everything that I believe in. I believe I should be a trader that follows his rules. If I mess up, it's on me, right? That's on me. It's over, right? I just went against my whole belief of who I even am. And that's how serious you have to take this shit. You can't be the person that says, I'm not going to do something, and then you go and do it. I'm not going to break my risk management rules, and then you go break your risk management rules. Your word is worthless. Your word is completely worthless, right? If you sit down and you lie to yourself about what you're going to do and how you're going to do it, your word is worthless and you can't even trust yourself anymore. So no fucking wonder why you can't follow your rules. You're just a horrible trader in all aspects. You need to be disciplined. You have to be disciplined. And then if you are, you become break even or winning. So this is going to be the longest section of the video, but let's talk about if you do all this and you're break even or if you're already a break even trader. Right, so if you are a break-even trader, let's say you go through all the testing, your mental's good, everything's good, but you're still break-even. This is the stage where data is still going to help you a lot, but you just need to optimize. So this is the stage where you have something that's basically working, but it's not really producing any results, but you're also not losing any money over a long period of time. So to be honest, being a break-even trader, might just be the most frustrating stage of a trader's journey, because it feels like you're doing everything right, but you're just not getting the performance that you actually need to get. So if you are a break-even trader, you need to optimize, and that is data. Collect data on the system that you're currently using, a huge amount of data. I'm talking about hundreds of data points worth of examples, and then what I want, collect every single, literally any possible variable that you could possibly think of, collect data about it. Even the smallest things you would never even consider, like what would happen if I went break-even every single time I was 20 points in profit, for example, like very small things. And then once you have an absolute ton of data collected, look for patterns in the losses and look for patterns in everything that is not winning, basically. And then don't just immediately apply that to your current trading, because remember, you're already break even. You have a system that more or less kind of works, so do not go and ruin that by immediately changing that. What I want you to do now that you're break even is you have 500 data points or so. You want to make a small change in your trading that you believe might improve the profitability of your system. That's great. Go back to the data that you have collected and change it on each and every example and analyze what the output would have been if you had changed that data point originally. Okay, so this is how you actually utilize the data that you're collecting. Every single time you want to make a change to your trading, do not make the change immediately. Go back and pretend like you had done that for the longest time. And if you would have done that during all the data points that you have, would your system be more profitable or not profitable? And to be honest, this is it. This is all you have to do if you're break-even trading. And then eventually you'll stumble upon an optimization that turns your equity curve from flat to slightly upwards. And then you're winning. And to be honest, when you're winning, there's not much you got to do, but we'll talk about it. So now you're a winning trader. Congratulations. You made it. You literally made it. Okay. Even if you're not winning a lot, even if you're only slightly winning, you beat the game of life and you beat the game of finances, because making money in trading isn't about being more profitable. It's about using more money. So even if you're 2% profitable, even if you have the smallest edge ever, if you just scale that to the max and throw as much money as you can at that, you can now make as much money as you want forever. Okay, you've beaten the game now that you're profitable. And that's important, right? Understand why you're trading. You're trading to make money, not to understand the market perfectly, right? That when you pull out $400,000 from your trading account and you go buy a house with it, that house does not give a fuck what the hell you did on the charts to make that money. When you buy a new Richard Mille watch, okay, that's 600 grand, and you put that thing in your wrist and you look at it, or maybe an AP or a Patek or a Patek Philippe, whatever you like. I don't know. Maybe you don't like watches. I love watches. I have like a $2 million watch collection. I love watches. If you put on that watch and you look at it and you're like, wow, this is amazing, your brain isn't going to be like, damn, I wish I was just a little bit more accurate on the charts. Your brain is going to be like, damn, I really did this shit. I'm a profitable trader. I don't really care how I made that money. I'm profitable and I'm consistent, and I know I'm consistent. And maintaining profitability is all about being very protective about your edge. Don't be easily swayed to change it. You might see somebody on the internet, or you might be seeing anything on the internet that's like, I can help you do this a little bit better. Don't fucking jump for it. Don't bite the fucking hook, because yeah, they might be able to do a little bit better than you, but you have something that's working. Again, making money in trading isn't about being extremely accurate or extremely whatever. It's about just using more money. Just scale it to the fucking max as much as you can. Push that, because you have something. You already beat the fucking game, man. Stop looking for more. Stop looking for more. Holy fuck, stop looking for more. And slowly optimize, right? You can get better. Slowly optimize. But be very, very protective of the edge you have. And when you do make optimizations, make sure they're battle tested just like you would if you were a break-even trader. And yeah. With all that said, hopefully this helps somebody. This is exactly what I would do in all stages of trading. Hopefully you guys can get to the a profitable trader. If not, farewell. Hopefully you had a fun time trading. Unfortunately, most people are going to fail. But for those of you who succeed, I do respect what you've done, because it takes a lot to fucking succeed in trading. It takes a lot, and you're going to be one of few who does it. Join the Discord, join the Patreon. I'll see you guys later. Hopefully this helped. Goodbye.